Welcome to Soul Quest. My name is Austin. I'm one of the pastors here at Soul Quest. Our lead pastor, Ronnie, who also happens to double as my dad, he is in Dallas at a conference this week. So remember him and my mom as they're traveling. They also are celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary. Isn't that crazy? 30, man, I'm telling you, it's crazy. And they're celebrating. It was actually last week, their wedding anniversary. And my wife and I, we bought a house in Knoxville where we're moving in a few weeks. And we went up and on my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, I got them the gift of helping me paint this entire house. So on their 30th, they were sleeping in the living room on a blow-up mattress. That's how much they love me. Okay, so if you see them again, you can tell them that they are awesome parents, right? They're awesome parents, and I love them. So glad to call them my parents. And I'm glad to be here today talking to you guys on the subject of reputation reversal. Reputation reversal. In fact, I want you to look at your neighbor and tell them, you got a rep. You got a rep. You got a rep. Now, some of y'all, you know that you're with your spouse or your husband or your wife or whatever, and you're looking at them, and you know they got a rep, right? Yes. Okay. Listen, here's the deal. My wife, I've got a rep with my wife, okay? There's a few things that I do that really get on my wife's nerves. Any other wives out there have a husband that just gets on your nerves, okay? Yes. Are y'all still together, or is this your ex, right? And so I get on my wife's nerves. In fact, last night, as we were going to bed, I got on my wife's nerves. I saw on Facebook something about how you pronounce pajamas. Now, who pronounces it pajamas? Let me see your hand, okay? Who pronounces it pajamas? All right, we're going to get you help. Okay, that is weird, okay? That's weird. You need to get hooked on phonics, right? Okay, so, and so I looked at my wife. I said, babe, honey, sweetie, baby doll, how do you say PJs, the full word? How do you pronounce that? And she said, pajamas. And I said, I think you say pajamas. And then my little 3-year-old who's sitting right next to me, laying right next to me, he looked over at Sarah. He looked at me and he kind of smiled. And he looked over at Sarah and said, she says pajamas. And I'm like, bro, you are just like me. This is amazing. We're going to get on her nerves for the next 18 years. It's going to be great. And she looks at me and she says, I do not say pajamas. I say pajamas. Who says pajamas? I was like, I think you do. And she was like, no, I don't. She just had a baby. And so her hormones are like over there and over there. And she's crazy. And she's not in the service today, so I can talk about her. And she reaches over. I'm telling you, I'm abused. She reaches over and she just punches me in the leg. I was like, babe, over pajamas? But anyways, she's great, and she actually, I get on her nerves so much. This is the look that she gave me last night. Go ahead and look at this picture of my wife, Sarah. Yeah, she is beautiful and without fault. She is amazing. But I get on her nerves, and I do things to make her look like this. And if you've ever seen my wife, her reputation is that she is always smiling, nothing is ever wrong in her life, and she is the happiest person you've ever seen. If you know my wife, let me hear from you, right? Like she is just like that, right? And then there's this side, right? And this was actually, we were on vacation, and her shoes had just gotten ants all over them, and she was terrified of the ants, and I got my phone out and started videoing her, and she got so mad at me. Actually, my brother-in-law, David, had to help her and get her shoes back and clean them off because I was just laughing too hard. And so that can be somebody's screensaver today if you just take a picture of that, make you feel better about your wife. No, my wife is amazing, but there's some things that I do, right, as myself, Austin Coleman, there's some things I do that make her look like that, all right? And I just got a list of them just to help you in your marriage, so wives, you can think my husband's not that bad, okay? Even the preacher is bad. So the first thing that I do that I want you guys to see is, go ahead and throw that up there. The first thing that I do as a husband that gets on my wife's every nerve, all right, is I leave my pants on the floor. As soon as I walk through the door, my pants are gone, okay? And they never go, listen, They've never gone into the laundry basket. I've told my pants time and time again, you need to put yourself into the laundry basket. But they don't listen, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing that really gets on my wife's nerves, and I want to show this to you, is sometimes I will pee on the seat. Can we just be real? If your husband has never peed on the seat, like, you don't have a real husband, okay? So I do that, right? Let me see. Wives, how many of your husbands have ever done that before and you have sat on it, okay? And then y'all got divorced, right? Okay. All right, so pee on the seat. Next thing that I do that gets on my wife's nerves is I leave my jackets on the floor. I've told them, too, to get into the laundry basket, but they don't listen either, all right? So I leave my stuff on the floor. Next thing I do is I drink half of a water bottle, and then I lose it. And then my wife finds it behind a picture or something. She's like, whose half water bottle is this? Why don't you drink all your water bottle? And I do that. It gets on her nerves. Next thing that I do is I lose my keys. Anybody lose their keys a lot? I lose my keys all the time. In fact, I don't have my keys on me right now. I don't know where they are. I lose my keys. Next thing I do is I lose my wallet. I do have my wallet on me because I don't trust y'all. And so I can't leave that. Lose my wallet, all right? And the next thing that I do that really gets on my wife's nerves is I leave my shirts on the floor, right? I just am walking through the house just throwing clothes everywhere, and it's great. She loves me. And then the last thing I do is I like to show some pictures of my wife on giant screens when she's not around, and that really gets on her nerves as well. And we have a great marriage, though. Okay, we have a great marriage. And after 5 years, Sarah has decided that my reputation with her is not that I'm nasty, because I'm not a nasty person. It's not that I'm dirty. I'm not a dirty person. I take up to 2 showers a day. Okay, I'm pretty clean. You can like talk to me and stuff. I'm pretty clean. I brush my teeth. I'm not a nasty person. I'm not a slobby kind of person. But what Sarah has determined is my reputation is that I am a strowy person. Strowing over there, strowing over here, strowing everywhere. Okay. And I don't even know what stro is, but she's just told me, you are strowy. And her mom has told me, you are strowy. And my mom has told me, you are strowy, to which I respond, you made me this way, right? Strowy, that's my reputation with Sarah. But here's the deal about reputation, is that reputation is very simple. Reputation is simply the things that you constantly repeat. It's the actions that you do over and over, and sometimes it's subconsciously. Like, I'm not going around saying, I can't wait to get on Sarah's nerves and throw my pants over there. I just constantly repeat that action, and the more I repeat it, the more it becomes a part of who I am, and it becomes the reputation I have with Sarah. See, every one of us here, we've all got a reputation. You got a reputation with your spouse. Some of y'all are strowy, just like me. Like, you've got a reputation with your significant other. I'm talking about the things that you repeat over and over and over. It's why you go, and when you've got your phone and you're just chilling on your phone, and then that person's name pops up that's calling you, and you go, oh no. Because their reputation is, if I answer this phone call, I'm going to be moving furniture all day. All right? That was my reputation last week with Johnny Anderson. It's why when you walk into Starbucks like I did last week, let me just be honest with you, I walked into Starbucks and I saw somebody, and I don't know about y'all, maybe I'm a bad person, but I was like, I ain't got time to talk to this person. And so your boy grabbed his phone and started texting his wife and saying, baby, call me, hurry. She never called me, so I called her, and I was on the phone, and she didn't answer, and the voicemail came up, and I was like, oh yeah, we'll go, yeah, I can do that, and we can, yeah, I'll grab that from the store, and okay, yeah. Have they left yet? Oh, hey, brother, okay, yeah, okay, All right, okay, yep, love you too. Nope, stay on the phone for a second. They're not gone yet. Okay. All right, they're gone now. Okay, yeah, I'll talk to you later, right? And you leave the voicemail, you're not even talking to anybody. And I'm a terrible actor, so it was not good, right? And I did that because, get this, the person, not bad reputation, they had a reputation, they wanted to talk. And your boy was in a hurry. Now, here's the deal. I'm making fun and joking, but the truth of the matter is that all of us have your reputation. And it's based on repeated actions. It's why some of you guys, you just got married, right? Or you've been married for a while, but your wife doesn't trust you to go out with the boys because you got a reputation of what you did when you went out with the boys before you got married, and she knows. It's why your wife won't trust you with some of that kind of thing because you've got a reputation. Look at your neighbor and tell him again, you got a rep. You got a rep. And what we want to do is, a lot of times, is say, man, haters going to hate. They don't know me. That's not my real rep. Which is true sometimes. It may not be fully formed, but your reputation, get this, your reputation is based on what you constantly repeat over and over and over and over again. And we all have a reputation, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. We've got a reputation, and it's ours. You can have a good reputation in certain areas. You can have a bad reputation in certain areas, but it is yours. It's mine. It reminds me of the story of Joseph in Genesis, in the 30s of Genesis. You remember Joseph and the coat of many colors, right? And we love Joseph, don't we? We love Joseph because Joseph was the underdog. He was the youngest son, and his brothers, they were coming after him, and his brothers were the worst, and his brothers threw him into slavery. And we have this idea of JoJo, right? And JoJo is perfect, and he never did anything wrong, and he didn't have any worries in his life until he was thrown into slavery by his brothers. But listen, sometimes I think we deify JoJo a little bit too much, because if we're honest, if we look back at it, yes, his brothers were sinful in throwing him into slavery. Yes, they were the bad guys of the story. But listen, JoJo wasn't perfect either. In fact, if you look at the story carefully, you see that Joseph was his father's favorite son. Joseph was given the coat of many colors. And you know what Joseph did? Joseph had dreams from God. But what Joseph did with the dreams that God gave him was he took them and he used them to overpower his brothers instead of using it to empower his brothers. And so Joseph had a bad reputation with his brothers because he constantly, every time he would get a dream, he would go to his brothers and he'd say, hey, you're going to serve me. You're going to serve me. I'm better than you. He was an instigator. He was prideful. He thought the world revolved around him, and it got him a reputation with his brothers. Now, think about this. Think about this for a minute. Joseph was taken by his brothers because they were jealous of him and they were fed up with him, and they had issues on their own. Their dad, Jacob, was the liar of all liars. Like, Jacob was not always this great guy either, and so they got daddy issues, all 12 of them, and so they go and they're getting ready to kill Joseph. And ultimately what they do is they get a little conscious. They say, I'm not going to kill him. We're going to sell him into slavery. We're going to throw him in a pit, and then we're going to sell him into slavery. And I want you to imagine with me for just a moment, like, let's back up from the story and everything we've ever heard about it and just kind of think, man, like, Joseph played a part in this story. Joseph's reputation with his brothers, while they were sinful, yes, Joseph's reputation was as a prideful instigator. Because he constantly repeated, and his reputation became what it was. Now here's what I want you to get today. This is my bottom line. I want you to write this down. It's simply this, that repetition creates reputation. Repetition creates reputation. Repetition creates reputation. See, Joseph had a reputation with his brothers that was different at the beginning of the story than it was at the end. Because if you remember the story, Joseph at the very beginning, his reputation was, I'm going to overpower you. I've got these dreams. You're going to serve me. You're going to bow down to me. I'm going to lead you. I'm going to rule over you. And then at the end, remember at the end, his brothers came into Egypt because there was a famine going on, and they get to Egypt, and his brothers are there to get food, right? And Joseph ultimately reveals to them that he is the JoJo that they threw into the pit so many years ago. And they see Joe and they think to themselves, oh crap. Joseph's reputation had changed, but get this, it wasn't his brothers that had changed, it was Joseph that had changed. His brothers were the same old dudes, but it was Joseph that actually changed. And here's what I want you to know today, here's what I want you to get today, is that what you repeat is what they expect. What you repeat is what they expect. What Joseph was repeating over and over to them, they were told, I am going to be over you, you're going to serve me, you're going to bow down to me, I'm going to rule over you. And imagine, you are the brothers rolling up and you've got all this guilt and shame from the years built up that, man, you took daddy's favorite kid and you killed him and you got all this stuff going on in your own life and you roll up. And the dude that is ready to feed you is the dude for so many years told you he was going to overpower you and was going to make you a servant. What they expected from Joseph is what Joseph for all of those years repeated. When they rolled up, they knew they were in trouble, man. They knew they were in trouble. It's like when I was in elementary school, me and my sister was the girl right here in the middle singing. And I remember when we were growing up, one time Madison just got demon possessed or something. And we're just driving in the truck and in the back seat. And I'm just minding my own business. Has anybody ever been minding their own business? And Madison just got mad at your boy for sitting there. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was the perfect child. But I just so happened to have my shirt off coming from the swimming pool. And some of y'all have heard this before. But Madison got mad at me for whatever reason. And Madison reached over, mouth wide open, and just bit a chunk out of my nipple. That is a real story. That is so real, okay? And that was the moment that she realized that her mouth could get so big that she could sing really well, right? But I'm telling you, as soon as she did that, in the middle of that bite, I'm telling you what she was thinking. Oh, crap. Daddy is about to destroy me. These dudes are rolling up and they're thinking, oh, crap. JoJo is about to destroy us, because for so many years he had told us he was going to destroy them. He was going to lead them. He was going to be over them. See, here's the deal. And I want to be careful here, and I don't want to step on your toes too much, okay? But what you repeat is what they expect. So I want you to look at your neighbor. I want you to be real nice to your neighbor. I want you to tell him real quick, he's about to call you out. Because here's the deal. And some of you wives you are way too passionate, okay? Here's the deal. The more you repeat actions, the more they become a part of who you are. And it doesn't just impact you, it impacts the people you are closest to. Here's the reality, is I'm really good, I'll be honest with you, I'm really good at saying thank you to people that are not my family. I'm not so good at saying thank you to people that are my family. That is a reputation that I have got to fix. I've got to change what I repeat in order to fix my reputation. If you got a bad reputation today, let me tell you something. You can change your reputation when you start changing the things you repeat. What you repeat is what they expect. See, the patterns become who you are, and so in your life, you've got some bad patterns, you've got some bad habits. I've got some bad habits, I've got some bad patterns. You've made some bad decisions. Hello. And here's the thing about bad decisions and bad habits and bad patterns is I cannot and you cannot pray your way out of a bad decision. I cannot pray my way out of a bad habit. I cannot pray my way out of a bad pattern. And you have to imagine being Joseph, that you've been thrown into this pit, and then you've been picked out of the pit, and you've been sold into slavery. You know what Joseph was probably doing? Joseph was probably praying to God, God, would you teleport me back to my father's house, where I can get another coat of many colors, where my father loves me more than everybody else. But you know what God did not do? God did not take him out of his problem. Instead, Joseph went from his problem into the prison. It got worse before it got better. See, God is not going to take me, God is not going to take you out of our problems. Sometimes we have to pay for what we've done. What you repeat is what they expect. Your repetition creates your reputation. The reason they expect so little out of you is because you've done so little. The reason your wife doesn't expect to go on dates anymore is because you stopped dating her the moment she said, I do. The reason that you can't stop and pay for somebody else's meal is because you've got credit card debt up to your eyeballs because you couldn't say no to the thing that looked new and shiny. Every decision that we make has a consequence. And in our relationships, get this, guys, what you repeat is what they expect. But also, get this, what is repeated can and will eventually enslave you. What is repeated can and will eventually enslave you. Joseph was sold into slavery because his brothers were very sinful, yes. And they may have had 80% of the reason to do with him being sent to Potiphar's house and him being sold into slavery. But Joseph played a part. And sometimes in our life, man, we want to blame everybody else for what's happening in our life. But regardless of what's happening in your circumstances and what's happened to you, we always play a part. And we can maybe only control 10%, 20%. But man, you better take that 10 or 20% by the reins and tell it where to go. Because what's repeated is going to create a reputation in you. See, Joseph had a vision from God, a dream from God that his brothers would bow down to him. And Joseph made his living. Get this. Joseph made his living and was promoted because he was a good interpreter of dreams. The problem was that when Joseph was younger, he was not good at interpreting his own dreams. Did you know that sometimes the visions that God give us, sometimes it can be hard for us to interpret? It's hard to be self-aware and see the problems in ourselves. Sometimes it's easier for somebody else to say, you are a jerk. Thank you, Tammy Coleman, for telling me that every other week. I appreciate it, right? Sometimes it's easier to hear it from somebody else. Joseph couldn't interpret his own dreams because here's the reality, is that he was looking at the vision God had given him and he was thinking, man, it's in order for me to overpower the people around me. But let me tell you something today that you can write down and take it to the bank. Anytime God gives you a vision or a dream or something he puts inside of you, a purpose, if it is not to empower others and give purpose to others, it is not a God dream. If it's only for you to get better and for you to get more wealthy and for you to be more powerful, that dream is not from God, because everything God gives is for us to turn around and get to give to somebody else. Every single time. Every single time. And Joseph didn't understand that yet. Joseph didn't understand that yet what is repeated can enslave you. Can enslave you. Just like Joseph, it can enslave me and it can enslave you. Think about it for a minute. The addiction that you have in your life today, whether big or small, whatever, fill in the blank. If I say addiction, there's something that pops up in your mind. The sin that you habitually commit, the habit that you form that you know is not good for you. You know it's not good for your kids. You know it's not good for your spouse, but you've formed it anyway. The different things that are happening in your life. Listen. If you continue to repeat them over and over and over, eventually, that repeated action will enslave you. It will enslave you. It'll keep you from the purpose God has for you. It'll keep you from following Jesus as closely as you need to, as closely as I want to. It will keep us from that because it is a barrier between us and God. See, here's how I'd like to illustrate it today. Is that some of us, we do something similar to this, okay? We come in and we say, man, my reputation is, I've always been blank, so I'm always going to be blank. Man, listen, I have always been poor. My family has always been poor. We've always been poor. We're just a poor kind of family. And you know what? I'm just going to be poor. You know, I've always been a mean person. I've always been unapproachable. I've always had that resting face. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always going to have that resting face because that's just who I am. It may be my reputation, but it just is who I is. You know what? I've always seen marriages fall apart. My parents' marriage didn't make it. My family has given me terrible advice. And man, this marriage has been bad from the start, so it's always going to be bad. That's just the way that it is. That's just the way in fact, you know what? I've been a bad dad the first 12 years of my kid's life. And so I'll just be a bad dad the next 6. You know, I've never really had victory in my life. I'm just not the victorious kind of person. You know what? I've always been a loser. I've always been a bad husband. My dad was a bad husband. My granddad was a bad husband. It's all I've ever seen. I'm just going to continue the cycle and be a bad husband. And what happens is we start to put these things in our life and we start to say, man, this is just my reputation. This is just the way it is. This is just who I am. And what happens is we start to build a barrier in our life that keeps us from real happiness, that keeps us from real success, that keeps us from real purpose for what God has for you. Because I'm here to tell you today that God has a purpose for your life, but sometimes we're so trapped behind what we do and what we don't do that we can't see what God wants to do through us. And we repeat actions over and over and over and over. And we get this reputation and we're stuck behind the barrier. It has enslaved us. Somebody here today, you are a slave to pornography. Somebody here today, you are a slave to your finances. Somebody here today, you are a slave to the way marriages have run in your family for generations, and you haven't broken the cycle because you're so trapped behind it. Barriers. Our repeated actions create barriers and patterns that trap us in the way things are, and the way things are right now. And what we start to think, if we're completely honest, what I think is, man, I'll never be able to move out of where I am to where I should be. I'll never be able to change. And some of you may be thinking, well, Pastor, I get that, and, you know, that sounds good, and yes, reputation, that's cute. There's a few letters that are different. Okay, that's memorable, whatever. But, look, Austin, you don't understand. My wife, she is crazy. Pastor, you don't understand that, man, I got real daddy issues, and I don't know any other way than to pass them down to my kids. I have been 30 years, I've had this reputation, and it's my reputation from high school, and everybody thinks this about me, and I cannot change that. And here's why I want us all to really lean in today. I want you to lean into this. I want you to understand this, is that all of these things, all of these reputations, all of this repetition in our life, it's built on what we do. It's built on who we've been. It's built on what you've done in your past, where you've been in your past. And listen to me, those things can break you, can they not? You know this because you've been broken by your own habits. I've been broken by my own patterns. I've messed up my life more than anybody else has messed up my life. You've messed up your life more than anybody else has messed up your life. And I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this. Your habits can break you, but you know what else can break you? Almost, and honestly, probably more than just your own habits. What will break you more than that is you coming into the picture. You coming into the picture and you trying to fix it all by yourself. It's kind of like my son Cash. He's now 3.5 years old, but when he was about 2, we were playing with blocks in the living room, all right, those big blocks, and he was having a ton of fun, and we were like, yeah, let's play blocks, and let's build something, and, I mean, this kid, he's too much of a church kid, because he's like, let's build a church. I'm like, come on, dude, like, let's build something else, okay? But he's building, and we're cleaning it up, and we're singing the cleanup song, clean up, everybody, everywhere, clean up, everybody do your share. Y'all don't sing that song? Okay, and so, looking at me like you've never heard that song before. Okay. Is this what it feels like, Madison, to be up here and sing and everyone looks at? Okay, and so, we're cleaning up and we're telling him clean up. You know, we're trying to instill in him how to not be a stroey person like his dad, and he's cleaning up, and he puts them all in the bucket, and we're celebrating, way to go, buddy, good job, good job. And immediately, as soon as he gets it all cleaned up, that boy picks it up, and he has the audacity to pick that bucket up and pour it all back out on the floor again. What is wrong with you? And here's the deal. Many times when we try to clean ourselves up and we try to change our reputation on our own, and we try to change our habits on our own, and we try to change the things in our life on our own, and we say, I'm not going to have this pattern anymore. In fact, I'm going to have a New Year's resolution, and we know how long those last, till January 14th. And we're going to do all of this stuff, and it's going to be so great, and I'm going to lose the weight, and I'm going to get out of debt, and I'm going to have a better marriage, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and blah, 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 blah. It's just like Cash. We get it all cleaned up, and then all of a sudden, it all gets dumped back on the floor again. It all gets dumped back out on the floor again. You may be done with the marriage you're in right now, but if you don't get some stuff fixed in the inside of who you are, the next marriage is going to be no different. You may be getting out of debt right now, but I'm telling you, if you don't cut up the credit cards, you're going to go right back to them, right? Because what you repeat becomes your reputation. And here's what many of us think. Quickly, this is what many of us think. We think that God looks down and He sees all these things that we've done and all these problems that we've got in our life. And many of us, if we're completely honest, this is our view of God in America, is many of us look and we think that God is upstairs in heaven on His recliner, His lazy boy, saying, ha-ha! I told you so. Look at what you've done to your life. Your life is mess up. You shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, look, I'm just going to chill right here until you figure out what's wrong with yourself so that you can fix yourself. In fact, you know what? You've messed up so bad, you've messed up so much that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to, on top of everything else, I'm going to give you a little cherry on top. I'm going to make Tennessee football suck for the next 20 years too. Honestly, look, that's what we think. But what I believe strongly today is that God is not sitting up in heaven on His lazy boy saying, look how messed up you are. I believe that my God is the God that sent His only Son. And He's the God, just like in Luke chapter 15, that when you mess up, when you screw up, when you sin, when you're stuck in the middle of something that you never wanted to happen in your life, you never saw coming in your life, but it's because of a pattern you established, it's because of something you repeated. I don't believe our God is sitting at home waiting on you to come back. I believe my God is out of His seat and He is running to you. He is chasing you. He is for you. He is not against you. He's got something better for you because our God is the God that loves the least. Romans chapter 5 says that while you were still a sinner, Christ Jesus died for you. Not when you got better, not when you got cleaned up, not when you fixed your yard, not when you fixed your fence, not when you tore down the barriers. No, my God is the God that came to me in the middle of my mess. Isaiah chapter 41 says that fear not, for I am with you. Not when you're good, I'm with you. I am with you always. Philippians 4 says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. It's through Jesus. It's through Christ. Deuteronomy says to be strong and be courageous. Don't give up. Don't give up. Matthew 11 says, come to me, all you who are weary. Come to me if you've messed up. Come to me, all you who are weak. Come to me, all you who have bad habits, who have bad hang-ups, who have made bad decisions, who have bad reputation. Come to me. Romans 8 says that there is nothing that can separate the love and the peace and the joy of God from those who He sent His Son for. So you may find yourself on this side of the barrier. You may find yourself over here and you're looking through your own life and you see all the things that are preventing you from coming back to Jesus, and you see all of the reputation that has been destroyed in your life, and you see what everybody else thinks about you. I'm here to announce to somebody, and maybe one person in the house today, your reputation with God is not based on your repetition. Your reputation with God is based on a relationship with Jesus Christ. Nothing more, nothing less. When He looks at you, when you trust in Jesus, He doesn't see what you've done. He sees what Jesus did for you on the cross 2,000 years ago, where He laid down His life so that you could pick up a new one. That is what our God does. That is who our God is. He loves you. And He wants to reverse your reputation. Because just like I said, the marriage you're in right now that's falling apart, you take what you are in the marriage you are in right now and you take it to your next marriage, that marriage will fall apart in very similar ways. It happens all the time. But if you can understand and you can get a grip, and I can get a grip, and we can realize that our reputation is not built on what we repeat for God, but our reputation with God is built on a relationship with Him. When that starts to happen on the inside, it starts to change and reverse what we do on the outside. See, when you trust in Jesus and your reputation with God is built on a relationship with His Son, listen to me, you do not have to stay where you are. Where you are now isn't where you got to stay. Because you may be in the valley of the shadow of death right now, but you don't have to fear any evil, because our God is a good shepherd that walks with us. He's with you in the middle of the storm. He's with you in the middle of the battle. He's on the mountaintop with you, and He's in the valley with you. You don't have to stay enslaved to the way things have been. Because when Jesus laid down His life on the cross, and He gives you an offering of new life based on a relationship, He takes you from the slavery that you've been living in into a whole new level. You don't got to stay where you are. But also, when it comes to the people around you, you've been repeating actions, right? And the reality is that what you repeat will create a reputation for you. That is just a reality. But when you get a relationship with Jesus, and you're not just coming to church, you're following Jesus. You're trying to figure out what's happening in your life, and you want to follow Jesus with all of your life. And you guys are in the spit section, so I'm sorry. I'm going to go ahead and apologize to you. I'm spitting all over them, okay? When you figure out that your relationship with God is what's most important, what you repeat starts to change. And what many of us, we do is, man, when things are going well, things are going well. When things are not going well, things are going really, really, really not well. Because many of us, if we're completely honest, we live by the praise of other people. And when other people praise us, life must be going good. The problem is that if you live by the praise of others, you will die. You will die by their boos. And instead, Jesus offers a different way. He says, come to me, all you who are weary. Come to me, all you who are heavy laden, and take upon you my yoke. Take upon you my burden, for my burden is light. Jesus has a better way. It's not about pleasing other people. It's about pleasing God in heaven. And the way we please God in heaven is by having a relationship with His Son, Jesus. And some of us in the house today, you've got a relationship with Jesus, but it's not making its way in and out of all the different aspects of your life. And so your reputation in certain areas is not good. But God is looking for some people that are ready and willing to follow Him. Because the pattern in your life, watch this, the pattern in your life, the pattern is the problem. See, what many of us need to do is we need to start, instead of going and taking our problems all the time and looking only at our problems, we need to start looking at the problem solver, which is Jesus. That when things are happening in my life and I'm repeating the wrong things, I've got the bad habits and I've got the bad decisions, God, I'm going to go to you and ask you what I need to do. And I'm going to go to you in your word. I'm going to go to you in prayer. I'm going to go to you with the people in my church. God, what do you have for me? Because your reputation with God is not built on things you do. It's built on who He is. And so before you move forward today in following Him and who He wants you to be, before I do that, we have got to first acknowledge that it's not built on what I do. It's not built on what I've done in my past. You're not too dirty. You're not too messed up. You're not too sinful. Jesus loves you as you are. And because of that, what's in your past can stay in your past. And you can move forward. Joseph let the past stay in the past, and he moved forward to be used by God. He didn't stay in the past. He moved forward to be used by God. And today, it's time for many of us to move forward to be used by God. That yes, you may have said yes to Jesus, but now it's time to take the yes and keep moving forward for God. Keep moving forward for God. Keep moving forward for God. You want to change your reputation? Change your relationship. How's your relationship with God? How's your relationship with God? How's your relationship with God? Do you have a relationship with God? Not a church attendance, not a I give money to the homeless guy on the corner, not a I'm a good person, not a I quit cussing, not a I'm taking care of my body. No. Do you have a relationship with God? Scripture tells us that a relationship with God, you make peace with God through His Son, Jesus Christ. That when we see a barrier in our life, that Jesus sees a bridge. That when He died on the cross 2,000 years ago, He didn't do it just for show. He didn't do it so a book would be written about Him. He didn't do it to start a new religion. He did it to save your soul. He did it to give you a fresh start and a new life. He did it to give me an opportunity to have a relationship and be made right with God. You want to fix your marriage? You want to fix your finances? You want to fix your relationships? You want to fix your relationship with your kids? Listen to me. Before you do any of that, fix your relationship with God. Fix your relationship with God. Do you know Him today? With every head bowed and every eye closed,